So this meeting is being streamed live on the Facebook also, and we are also recording this for our future reference. So today we have Mr. Nath Verma, who's an enterprising HR thought leader. Mr. Verma had over 37 years of experience spanning across profiles and roles. He had an important leadership position in NTPC. He was Executive Director, HR, and Chairman of UPL, which was a joint venture of NTPC and Reliance. So warm welcome to you, Mr. Verma, at the Startup Change Leaders event. And I'm sure we'll all be enriched by your knowledge. As a strategic innovation HR professional, he has translated into many business visions and HR initiatives to improve the performance, profitability, growth, and employee engagement for various positions which he held. So welcome, sir, and it's over to you. We would like to hear you out. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajivji. Thank you very much for a very warm introduction and introduction to this very vibrant group. Let me at the outset convey my sincere thanks to you. And since this is a Navratri season, let me also take this opportunity to convey my best wishes to all of you for a very happy Navratri and best wishes for Durga Puja. So with these few words, I would like to switch over to the topic of our discussion today, which will be, can a robust performance management system be useful for organizational success? I mean, this is a very, very relevant and a contemporary topic, and I have deliberately kept it as a discussion. So I would like all of us to participate, because all of us have undergone and seen the system of performance management in our respective organizations. So better discussion on the effectiveness of the robust management will help us to understand how we can think about a revised robust performance management system in our organizations and how they can be useful for the organizational success. But before we start discussion on the topic, let me take you to the background of the performance management system. Last 4 decades or so, if we have seen from 80s onwards, what we have seen, it used to be a kind of performance appraisal system in earlier times, where the confidential reports. I'm sorry, there is some construction work. I hope it's not disturbing others.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Please carry on. I request others also to kindly mute yourself.
So I was telling that the history of performance management system started with the there is some disturbance coming to you also. Rajivji, are you able to hear the disturbance coming?
Yeah, thoda sa aa raha hai, sir. But anyway, please carry on. Yeah.
I mean, some repair work going on.
Yes. We are getting some background noise. Yes.
But it's not disturbing, or it's
no, it's okay. It's okay. Please can continue.
So I was telling that from the earlier days of the performance appraisal system, really we have moved on from that position to the evaluation of confidential reports to greater objectivity and quantification of the data and relative ranking systems till as late as 2010 or 2012, and the impact was felt the world over. And still around 2012, there was a general thinking in the sphere of business that the performance management system needs a further change, in the sense that even the force ranking system was not proving to be effective, and it's not going to it was not meeting the required objectives. So although the forced ranking method was brought about after a lot of deliberation and over a period of time, it went on from organization to organization. But considering the kind of changes that are taking place in the entire business scenario, especially the impact of technology, we have seen the kind of changes even before the onset of COVID. The entire business world was a complete VUCA world. The uncertainty and the unforeseenness of the business was quite emphatic. With the advent of COVID, we saw a lot of completely new areas of work culture. Namely, if we all have experienced the concept of the work from home, the work from anywhere, or the new norm were set up for creating a hybrid workplace. So all this has put on a lot of pressure on the concept of performance management system per se. And there are great challenges for the HR workforce to ensure that the performance management system that is there in the system is really impacts well and serves the objective of the organization, serves the expectation of the stakeholders, and also brings about improvement in the overall organizational effectiveness. If we see the world over, how the business is changing, and what are the changes that are being brought in the sphere of our own country, there are 4 important changes that are taking place in the entire business scenario. The first one is the advancement of the technology. If we talk about my own company, NTPC, in earlier times, a lot of activities used to take place, which was really not serving any business purpose, so to say. In earlier days, we used to have, when I was working in the largest thermal power station in the country, which is Untitled Thermal Power Station, a lot of employees were drivers. And they used to drive vehicles, different type of vehicles, trucks, Hydra, etc. And they were a very important aspect of the entire business culture, because they were doing the kind of work in the odd hours, and they are bringing value to the business. But suddenly it was decided that the outsourcing should be adopted, and outsourcing should help the business in a very large way. And during the late 80s and early 90s, the outsourcing was taking place in the entire country. And with that concept, we on one day we decided to change the concept of hiring the regular drivers in our company. And you see, in one project, the natural project, we saw that about more than 100 drivers were made to sit idle. So, and they were just not being given, because all the vehicles were outsourced, and the work was taking in a much better shape. And the entire concept of having a regular drivers received the toss. So what to do with this kind of people? That was a major concern. So considering the total workforce in these categories, there was a huge chunk of workforce which was made to sit idle. But then later on we realized that they have to be trained, they have to begin newer skills and newer work, so to say, and make them effective in the system. Why I'm giving you this example is that with the advent of technology in our workplaces, many jobs as such will become redundant in times to come. It has happened over the last 40 years, if I say, in NTPC and companies of our contemporary companies, everybody has seen the kind of changes that have taken place. So advances in the workplace and networking technology have made many changes to take place. If I take example of the HR benefit, the employee benefit segment of HR function. What we have seen, no, Rajuji, remain on the first slide. So if we see the HR benefit, employee benefit segment of the HR function in our company, very recently, about 100 people were engaged in making the employee benefit system run the system and provide services to the the employees as such. But with the advent of technology, when we completely digitize the employee data and put the ERP in place, a lot of functions became redundant, and as such, with the advent of more and more technology and usage of artificial intelligence and other dimensions in the workplace, we have now reduced the employee benefit segment to as close as 8 to 10 people for the entire workforce. So from 100 to 8, and then now switching over to still slim workforce for handling those things. So what I am trying to say that with the advent of technology and networking, a lot of things will become obsolete in times to come. And as HR function, we have to be mindful of that. And it has also to be reflected in the, our performance management system. So this is one aspect that advances in the workplace and networking technology will impact the work as such, and it has to be taken due care. Similarly, all the organizations are now faced with multi-generational workforce. With the advent of life space, the average lifespan of average Indian is considered to be close to 80 now. So if we think that 60, as it happens to be the official working age limit, is now being traversed. I mean, it's being surpassed. Many people, even after retirement, are taking post-retirement jobs. So the retirements are not a barrier for cessation of work, and people, even after crossing the age of retirement, are still working in some sphere, in some capacity, as the requirement of the expert requirement of specialized fields are still needed. So right from the millennials to the new age workers to the elderly people, the entire workforce is now happening with multi-generational kind of workforce, and we have to understand the complexities and divergent expectation of employees, and the performance management system cannot remain aloof. So this is the second dimension, which is very important to understand for all of us to understand. The third dimension is the Indian economy over the last 30 years or so is taking a very forward-looking advancement, and it is growing in size and it's growing in stature. Right? If we take the case of 1990s, when we were placed in about 12th position in the GDP ranking of the world, we are now today placed at number 5 position in GDP, and we are poised to take over the 3rd position by the end of 2030. So with the optimistic Indian economy scenario, the focus of all the organization is to deliver, and how best to deliver will be dependent on many things, the economic resources, the skill resources, but will be dependent substantially on a very robust management system. So this aspect is also required to be kept in mind. So in times to come, the organizations which are having a robust performance management system will only survive because we have already, with the advent of technology, we have already optimized optimized hugely on the cost-cutting measures, waste management, employee agile workforce, everything. But now, what will be the differentiating factor will be the robust performance management system. If we can think about it, and if we can place it in our organization. And the fourth dimension, which is impacting the Indian scenario in a very major way, is the advent of the youth more and more in the workforce. Every year, close to 10 million people are being added in the entire workforce. If we take the EPFO data, it's close to 10 million every year. So we have to meet their aspirations and understand their expectation. What do they want? How do they function? What is their aspiration? Their entire energy and exuberance to bring about changes in the system, deliver results. So everything is to be kept in mind. So these are the four dimensions. What I have just told: the advances in technology, the multi-generational workforce, the rising Indian economy, and the burgeoning young force in the system. So with this background, I thought that I will make the group understand about the requirement of the new performance management system. And let me tell you that in some measures or the other, measures or the other, all the Indian companies have been trying to improve upon the performance management system. And with the advent of the industry 4.0, as I have already told you, the organizations are likely to become more and more informal. I mean, the layered structure of the organizations are no longer going to be there. And we have seen the collaborative approach of the organizations, the interdepartmental coordination, interdepartmental, meeting with people. Every team members are required to be empowered, and the entire system needs to be transparent. So everybody demands how I am performing, how I am performing on this system, and what are the skill gaps or what are the shortcomings that must be told to me beforehand. So if you have got experience of the handling the PMS, let me tell you that one of the major grievances of all the employees are that they are given the feedback only at the end of the year. So that is the main bottleneck, and the data on which we rely on finding the results of the PMS at the end of year are all generally not robust. So all these things demand that the performance management system needs to be completely revamped, and a robust performance management needs to be implemented in our organization, which has got buying in of all the stakeholders, namely the employees. Not only the employees, even the managers, the top management, everybody has to align as to what are the essential ingredients of the robust management system. Everybody has to understand the benefits and create a sense of trust within the working area, so that a free and open discussion takes place within the team members, and understand the efficacy of the system, and only then the efficacy of the performance management will be understood and rolled over. So with this, I would like to take a pause here and like to listen from some of you as to what are your observations on the effectiveness of a robust performance management system, or any query or any observation on whatever I have told just up to now. So over to Mr. Bajaj and to other members for any observations till such now.
Yeah, we have another HR professional here, Anil from Talent Spotify. Anil has been with a lot of companies, India and abroad, in HR domain. So Anil, can you just share your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, this is my, this topic is close to my heart.
Yeah.
We are, I have started my startup only on talent management, which is relevant to performance management system, where we have invested my whole rest of the life on this particular topic. So what can I say? So yeah, I agree with him on the completely. Yes, there is performance management systems and processes, whatever it is available in India, it is pretty much old, and giving a feedback only once in a year at the end of the year, which is not acceptable for the people, where they cannot able to correct. The damage is already happened, then whatever we going to try to correct it. So it has to be have a continuous performance management, and people should be adopting to OKR model, like objectives and key results, where it will be just giving small rewards and recognition. It is always looking into that mode on this one. So I agree with him on the complete part. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil.
Any other observation from the non-HR people? Because I was thinking that I will be able to discuss with the line functionaries more. So any observation of other people?
Sir, I have also been part of Panasonic, as I told you earlier, and I have been on both the sides as a finance person, and I handle a bit of HR as well. So what do you think, how the employee perceives this exercise? Because I know from the employer perspective, it is always better to monitor the performance management. But sometimes I see resistance to too many documentation because of this tool being there in the organization. So can you just throw some light on the employee side of it?
Okay. Thank you, Rajuji. Can you switch over to the next slide?
Yeah. Yeah. One. Yes.
So I think, I mean, you talked about the perspective of the employees.
Right.
Let me share with you. I've had the opportunity of interacting with a lot of people within the NTPC is a very mammoth organization, but I also had the opportunity of discussing the issue on Scope Forum. I mean, Scope, as you all know, is a standing conference on public enterprises where all the leading public sectors interact on some platform. So cutting across the line functions, the top management, the employees, the managers, to me, everybody seems to be either sarcastic or kind of making some slight remarks about the performance management system. So I have just put a slide like why does everyone hate performance management system?
Right.
Just to provoke the thought of people. So I mean, there are very good reasons that people. I mean, hate is not the correct word, but why does everybody not like the performance management system? Let me say that, and there are some very good reasons. First of all, the performance management system, which was developed hitherto, I mean, till 2015-16, as the development was there up to 2015-16, the focus was mainly on the performance appraisal side, not so much on the development of the employee side. There was no concrete system of onboarding employees and the manager for free and frank discussions. So there are some reasons I would like to point out that the traditional system, there is no evidence that it leads to the improved performance. After all, the original idea or original objective of having a good performance management system was to ensure that the organization targets are met. But if this primary target is also not being met, and a lot of time, energy, and resources are wasted in conducting, as you rightly told, that a lot of documentations are required to be made, and then if the discussion takes place, at the end of the year, then some time on that also. So huge resources are wasted. And then at the end of the year, instead of giving some positive results, there used to be a the system used to throw some results, very surprising results, and people used to criticize about the performance management system, and there can be many reasons. So the first thing I would like to say that why people not like the performance management system is that there is no direct evidence of the system leading to improved performance. That means we have to ensure a robust linkage of organizational objectives and performance management system, and it has to be bought in by everybody. Only then people will be agreeing to this concept of having a new or robust performance management system in place. The second is the feedback mechanism, as I was telling, is not was not envisaged. The feedback mechanism means whatever feedback I'm expected to give to the subordinates or the team members was not on the basis of objective data. So the recency effect used to take place. I mean, some activity takes place which highlights the performance, and that remains in the mind. But if you have to take care of the entire assessment period, if it is a 1 year period, the entire the feedback or the performance has to be recorded as such, and what should be the frequency of feedback, that is also required to be understood. So that these are some of the important systems. And the other aspect is that we need not only focus on the performance per se, we have to focus on the appraisal side also. I mean the development side also of the employees. So unless you say that your team members that here is the chance for improvement, and if you do this thing in this manner, perhaps the results would be better. So if we take that route and make them understand and make, so once you start this kind of conversation, the element of trust creeps in the entire system, and everybody will be encouraged to reach out to the seniors for feedback, even for counseling, even for any correction mechanism. And then the frequency of the feedback has to be understood by the organization. The frequency can be there are many organizations who insist that it can be a weekly. Some organizations say that no, it cannot be as quick as weekly. It can be fortnightly or monthly. So that depends on what kind of business you are in, whether you are in consulting, whether you are in IT or you are in manufacturing. That will depend on the organization to take a call. But the frequency of conversation, the developmental aspect, and the data of the entire assessment period to be captured in the system will be very, very important. And unless these things are not there, the system will not be appreciated by the stakeholders in the right perspective, and it will not be taken seriously by the stakeholders. The other aspect which I want to highlight is that in the earlier system, the focus was mostly on the individual. The performance management system does not say that you have to focus. Suppose I am as a N Verma person have performed very nicely in 1 year. That doesn't mean that N Verma should be rated by the seniors on the same basis because N Verma is performing well, or Rajiv Bajaj is performing very well, or Atul Gupta is performing very well. So his performance must be counted. Sachin Tendulkar may be a very extraordinary player, but is he performing the way he was performing earlier, on earlier outings, or has his performance gone down? Does he need some coaching, some correction, some guidance, so these kind of things? So in earlier system, the focus was more on individual and less on the individual's performance. So in the performance management system, we have to focus on individual performance, not on the individual. and the fairness and justification of arriving at the final rating must be on the sound evidences rather than on hunch or rather than on belief or something like that. Managers tend to be nice rather than accurate. People do not tend to be clear cut in their conversation. So these are some of the problems, and it has not been experienced only in the public sector setup. When I have seen that this kind of problem is there in every organizations, and that's why there is a need for a robust performance management system to be in place. So next slide, Rajiv.
Yeah.
So with this background, let me summarize some of the objectives that must be understood clearly by all concerned, namely the top management, the line functionaries, the departmental HODs, and the employees. And that has to be seamlessly communicated across all levels in the organization. The robust PMS must be supporting the delivery of business objectives. That means my individual KRAs cannot remain oblivious to the business targets. It's not that I perform very well, but the organization fails. There has to be a direct linkage of my performance in some way with the business objectives. How it has to be done, it's a very challenging task. It is not so easy, but the concept says that unless there is a sound relationship between the delivery of business objectives with the PMS of individual KRAs, it is not going to serve the purpose. Now, the second objective, which I think is very important, is the individual contribution. I mean, it is not the appraisal per se. It is the contribution that individual makes to the organization that needs to be very clearly recognized and appreciated. We should be able to identify and manage the weak and strong performers. I will not say weak. I mean, strong performers and not so strong performers. The concept of weak performance should be reviewed, and we should be coining terms like improvement opportunities and things like that, rather than telling that these performers are weak performers. So we should be able to very clearly distinguish between weak and strong performers on the basis of solid data accumulated in the system over frequent interval of times for the assessment period. My PMS must be able to give me sufficient work to keep me engaged, because what is being seen in the organization is that the engagement level still at this hour also is very, very low. I mean, the Gallup says that the engagement level in the best of circumstances, if we take the worldwide expectation, it is not more than 20%. So engagement level needs to be improved, and if the PMS is able to ensure that the engagement level of employees are improving and the motivation level of employees are improving, then the PMS is going to serve the purpose. The PMS should also be able to promote creativity and initiative. It should not be, we have to devise the individual targets and align it with the company's target in such a manner that in order to achieve the company's target, the teams and the individuals must be compelled or motivated enough to take up initiatives and creativity and bring about innovations in whatever little way. Innovations can happen at multiple levels. It is not a very, very high level of innovation is not required. Innovation, the way we work, how we can make improvement in our workplaces, how we can make our work seamless and smooth, requires continuous improvement. And if we continue to do that, our the entire output becomes substantial and meaningful. And the last point, which is very important, is that the team performance in the PMS is also required to be captured. There must be an element of team performance in the PMS system, which also, I mean, it cannot happen that the entire team fails. I mean, the team objective fails and the individual gets outstanding rating. So if the team has failed, there must be some bearing on the performance ratings of employees also, so that the individual team members of a team take the collaborative approach and a team approach in arriving at the team's objective and meeting the team's target. So an element of team performance needs to be brought in the PMS. That is very important. So if all these 6 factors are there in the system, I think the performance management system will be able to bring about the objectives and bring about the buying in, so to say, from the stakeholders, namely the employees and the managers and the top bosses. So next slide, please. But it is easier said than done. As I told in the earlier time, the impediments are there. Impediments are not from the employee side only. Impediments are also from the manager side. The first and foremost is the impediment is the ability or willingness to have tough conversation with the employees. I mean, in the Indian context, if we say the cultural values, we tend to hesitate. I mean, even I have hesitated in having a very free and frank conversation with my team members, and it has to be learned and it has to be crafted. This kind of the competencies of having a tough conversation with the employees, have to have discussions with respect to the company's target, team targets, where we have faltered, where we have succeeded. Everything needs to be brought in a very seamless and an effective manner. And only then, as I had told earlier also, the trust will be created within the entire system. And once that trust is created, everything will become very seamless. The second aspect from the manager side is reluctance to differentiate outcomes. It's not very difficult to understand. Sometimes the outcomes are such that overall the company has failed, but overall the company has succeeded, or the team has succeeded, but the contribution of each and every member is not the same. So that has to be differentiated. Ability to manage biases, it is very common. I mean, how if a person is working very close to me day in and day out, it's very difficult for a boss to rate him lowly because of personal biases, and focus on the process rather than quality of decision. I mean, there is a tendency to focus on how many things you have done, but rather than on the final outcome. So these are some of the impediments on the manager side, which I mean obstructs the implementation of a robust performance management system. And we have to train all the senior members who are going to be as a team leader or the leadership positions. They have to understand and handle these aspects very clearly and very effectively. Similarly, from employee side, the lack of trust is there in the process. Objectives, they are not set up properly. If we define what are the objectives at the end of the year, and it is very easy to say at the end of the year that you have failed in this. But did we set up this kind of objective in the start, or did we make any corrective suggestions or feedback or counseling during the course of the assessment period? If we have not done, then employees cannot be held responsible. Similarly, the expectations are not defined clearly. So all these things, I'm telling, if we are going to include these things in our PMS, the PMS is definitely going to serve the purpose it is designed. Similarly, the processes are also to be blamed. Some of the issues are behavioral components. You see, in the traditional PMS, apart from the KRAs, there used to be 3 dimensions: the competence, the potentials, and the values. I mean, they are not very easy to assess. They are not very, for individuals, they are not having any scientific tools to assess. So it will be better to remove these components from the PMS, and because they are required for apart from development, for their movement higher in the ladder. But as far as the PMS is concerned, if we focus on the individual's performance and the team performance, that would be sufficient. So we need to clearly segment out the softer aspects of the PMS, the earlier PMS, which used to carry the weightages on competence, the values, and the potential, because they are long-term perspective, and they have to be analyzed. And nowadays there are a lot of tools available. They are available in the market, which assesses these components very easily and very effectively to the satisfaction of everybody concerned. But if we leave it to the managers and the senior officials in the hierarchy, there are bound to be mistakes. So these are some of the impediments I thought I should discuss with all of you. I hope, Rajiv, I have been able to make some observation on your this thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure. It was very insightful. Yeah.
Can we go to the next slide, please?
Yes. These are getting stuck. I don't know why. Okay.
Now, what we have experimented in NTPC, and based on my discussion with the many other companies, I think that the new performance management system which I propose should be able to drive a performance-driven culture in the company, and should be able to meet the expectation and the challenges in the system, and it should drive a performance-driven culture in the true sense. Everybody will be focused on their own areas, and they will be making efforts, sincere efforts, effective efforts to drive the overall organizational objectives, and the entire things will be captured in a system. So first and foremost thing is that the performance management system has to be completely online. The data has to be captured in a system which is completely in the system, and the entire discussions, entire inputs are, frequency can be anything, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, but it has to be done very scientifically. The importance of performance planning. If we see the entire crux, the linkages of the organizational objectives to the team's performance and to the individual's performance has to stem from the performance planning level, and the performance planning has to be completely done before the start of the assessment period. For example, if the assessment period is say from 1st April to 31st March, the performance planning as such, the targets must be, the draft targets must be finalized on the 15th March itself. Otherwise, it is not going to serve any purpose. You cannot make the performance planning during the course of during the currency of the performance period.
Yeah.
So the performance planning has to be done, and a lot of discussions are required to be made between the top management, the middle management, the team leaders, departmental heads, and the employees. And similarly, the expectations, as I told earlier, they must be what needs to be done, what results are to be achieved. They must be clearly brought out. Only then the PMS is going to be successful. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
So the KPIs which are required to be framed for the individual employees must be smart, as we all agree. They have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, and they have to be based on the every company must be having a MOU for the next year, and the draft MOU must cascade from the top to the bottom, and the unit heads must ensure that all the employees are given sufficiently stretch targets. Stretch targets, what are the stretch targets will need to be defined by the team members only. They cannot be prescribed by outsiders. It has to be done with the help of what is the, I mean, I can just cite an example with you for NTPC. The yearly targets are framed by the Government of India, the Ministry of Power and the DPE. So every year the targets on operational excellence, the capex, and the financial targets are framed by the government, and they are very stretched targets. They are, I mean, apart from these three broad targets, they are very so based on these targets given by the government. Within internally, we have the targets from the corporate center with the regional entities, regional heads, and the regional directors, and they cascade down to the level of projects and teams and then individuals. So, I mean, such kind of elaborate system may not be there in all the organizations, but just to take clue from this concept, the targets have to cascade down from the top to the bottom, and individual employees must be stretch targets. What are stretch targets? That must be defined and understood clearly by the team members. And it should not be easy targets that you achieve all the small targets and take the excellent ratings. Because unless you give stretch targets, the employees, the individuals, and the teams will not be compelled or not be motivated enough to give the excellent performance. Next slide. So as I told, the alignment of KPIs has to be with the strategic goals of the company. And if everybody works right from the word go, and the entire things are being captured in the system, the PMS system, so there is no chance of missing the targets, because the targets are very huge. And normally we tend to believe that unless we have a system everything is captured, we tend to believe that we will be managing this in the next quarter, but it doesn't happen. So accumulated targets are very big to handle in the last, and it many occasions it fails also at the end of the year. So alignment of KPI with strategy goals, with the everybody working towards those common goals, and if we are able to manage that, we will be definitely meeting the organizational targets, and we'll be meeting the stakeholders, and they will not only be meeting the stakeholders I mean target, we will also be delighting them. So I mentioned about the team concept of team KPIs. It's a new concept, and it's very hard to believe that, I mean, generally there is a lot of resistance for the teams to understand why the team's KPI should be also having some bearing on the individual performance. But if you understand the entirety, the concept of PMS in the entirety, the role and importance of the team KPI is very important, and the team performance leads to excellent work culture. That is for sure. Unless that is ensured, the individual performance cannot be totally, I mean, objectively assessed. And adequate weightages for different. This is prepared mainly in context of the large organizations, but we can tweak in for other organizations, and it is possible to completely prepare a framework for having a very objective and robust performance management system for each and every organization. Next slide, please. And as I told that the twin aspect, the twin objective of the performance management system is assessing the individual performance, and the equally important aspect is the addressing the needs of the individual employee where he is failing in the falling in the competency gaps. So all those competency gaps will be clearly understood if we have a robust communication matrix with the team leaders. And once the team members and the individual has a very scientific discussion on this aspect, the individual development plan or the skill gap concept is very clearly emerged in the system, and that is accepted by both the shortcomings and the failures and the skill levels, the gap. They are all very clearly understood, not only by the seniors but also by the employees. And how do we handle the competency gap? Through by way of training, online training, offline training, job rotation, some short assignment from different workplaces. So all these things, a membership of professional bodies. So when you send people to outside, you also bring about expertise of what is happening elsewhere. Apart from what is happening in the organization, you understand what is happening in the outside world. So training, job rotation, and membership are the tools for meeting those IDP needs. And these things should not be prepared for a very long future. They must be addressed. What are the immediate shortcomings and the long-term shortcomings? So everything must be prepared. And as I told earlier, the PMS it should not be kept for a. I mean, traditionally it was only for 3 dates: the planning, the mid-course correction, and the final assessment. But what is proposed in my system is that PMS must be an ongoing process, and the intervals can be weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, but it cannot be later than that, because everybody wants feedback on immediate basis. That will bring transparency in the system, reinforces good performance management system, and it will also tell us where do we need to correct ourselves. Suppose the stress targets are such that additional skills are required, additional resources are required. So that must be fulfilled rather than blaming the person at the end of the year. And immediate performance feedback is also very important. And based on the entire feedback and the entire inputs for the 52 weeks or 12 monthly assessment should be, the annual assessment should be finalized. And based on that, the development needs. And in the process, the importance of the feedback, coaching, and counseling. They are 3 different but yet very important, powerful tools. The feedback should not be vague in the sense that you just cannot say that your performance has not been up to the mark. In which project, on which date I failed, in specifics should be discussed, and what better could have been done, and how things can be taken up or planned in future. That should be the kind of feedback that the employee wants. Similarly, coaching will give him the areas of shortcomings and give him inputs for improvement and doing things in a better manner next time. And counseling is sometimes people tend to struggle with the problems facing the challenging on social front or home front. So how do we counsel them to come out of this situation is also a part of PMS. Next slide. And the PMS has to have strong linkages with the learning and development, reward system, and career development system. So if we make all these things completely networked and interlinked, I'm sure the performance management system will be able to deliver the much needed impetus to the organization, and they will bring about the organizational goals. They meet the requirement of the organization, individual aspirations, team's performance, everything will be in place. So my suggestion to all of you is to understand the niceties of the performance management system and develop a performance management system for your own company and see to it that it really works. I think in the end, I would like to conclude by saying that the performance management system, if implemented properly, will not only be catalyst for the performance-driven culture in the company, but will also support restructuring and organization. Many wasteful practices, many employee requirements, many outsourcing can be done. There are many things which will emerge out of the learnings of the very robust performance management system in the company. So I think that's all I had to say, and I would request if there are any questions, I'm open to answer that.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very elaborate and insightful talk on performance management system. Needless to say, this is the most important aspect for any organization, but not well understood by some top managements also, and by the employees as well. So there is a need to spread this message across on both the sides. This is what I feel. And Atul is here. He is one of our very active
Yeah.
founder member. Yeah, Atul, please.
No, wonderful presentation, Mr. Verma. I mean, this is, as they say, that the capital is not only the financial capital, the human, workforce and the whole organization's human part is the one which is now being recognized as a integral part of the success of the organization. Therefore, human capital is important. And in order to build up that human capital, these exercises on the introduction of the right performance management systems or the developmental tools or use of those tools. And as you rightly said, that linkages of all these things ultimately have to gel with the organization goals. So that is something which is very, very important. It has to be integral part of the whole organization journey. So very well said and very well presented. So we will
Thank
keep
you.
on discussing these things in the months to come.
Definitely.
Thank you. Anybody else with any questions, please?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
This is Sanjay Devgan. I've been in the corporate life for about 30 odd years. And, we have developed these KPIs, KRAs, and PMSs all through our life. But what happens is that, 70% of the organization is doing day-to-day jobs, day-to-day data entry, or on the shop floor, a person is, working on a lathe machine or putting a hammer. So when we, do the PMS or they say, sir, we have done our job, but the company has gone into losses. So they want the full compensation. While the top management says, how can we pay? Because, we have not made a profit. So there is a lot of conflict. And how to resolve that?
See, this is a very good question, and this comes in most of the organization. If the failure is on account of outside, I mean, if the situation was not in our control, something has happened because the targets have been missed because of external forces. What to do? See, but when the targets are assigned to the organizations, these things are taken into consideration, and we just cannot be oblivious to the fact that some unforeseen things will definitely impact us in times to come. So we have to be prepared for that. But all said and done, this is one question that needs a great deliberation, and what kind of bearing we should give on the individual assessment that needs to be seen by the top management and by the leaders in their company. But one thing I must say that if we have a weekly planner and the system of capturing the data, and if we have a strong linkages of the organizational objectives with those of the departmental target and the team's target and individual targets, there is no reason why it should fail. But as I said, if the control is not within the company and something because of external environment, something has failed, then a call has to be taken by the top management as to what needs to be done in such cases.
Probably, Verma sir, this is vice versa also true at times. The external forces, give you unprecedented profits also at times.
Yes.
And the company at that time, should award those employees out of the way so that it acts as a buffer to them in the downturn. That's what we were trying to implement. I don't know how successful we will be, but that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
What are your views on this?
See, I can give you an example of NTPC as to we have got 7 gas-based power plants, and all of them were constructed in a record time, and they were doing excellently well. But with the progress in the country and the level of availability of gases in the system, the availability of gas for the power plant was becoming less and less. So some of the plants had to be shut down. So what is the fault of these people who are working there? So there was a huge deliberation within the company as to what should be done with this situation. So we have to take as I told you, that a balanced view has to be taken, where the failure has been on account of, suppose the target is that all the plants must run on the PLF of 90%, but because of non-availability of gases, the plant cannot run. So what to do? Similarly, in the banking sector, there can be many such situations because of RBI guidelines or something external to the bank. Something happens, or maybe anything else. So in such situations, a very systematic and objective view has to be taken in deciding the PMS. But my prescription remains the same, that whatever the person concerned has done must be captured, and on the basis of the continuous dialogues, the continuous feedback over a period of 52 weeks or 12 months, that on the basis of those data, the performance should be assessed.
Yeah,
Right.
Point is, data does suggest he has performed. There's no issue on that account. Because data says what he was told to enter book entry, he has done. He was supposed to do his finance and accounts, fine, he has done. The only people responsible are the sales, purchase, and the operations. You know, which constitute only about 30% of the organization, and 70% is the support staff, you know.
नहीं देखिए मैं बता रहा हूँ, इसमें क्वेश्चन ये आएगा, जैसे कि अगर मैं एक दूसरा एग्जांपल दूं आपको, जहाँ व्हाट यू आर ट्राइंग टू से रूटीन एक्टिविटी, जहाँ पर एक्टिविटी हो रही है, उसमें कैसे असेस करना है. तो फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे यहाँ जैसे कि डेस्क पे लोग जो ऑपरेशन पे जो इंजीनियर्स काम करते हैं, वो काफी ज्यादा मतलब वो प्लांट को चलाते हैं, बट उनका एक्टिविटी जो है, उनका परफॉर्मेंस जो है बिल्कुल रूटीन है और बिल्कुल सिस्टम ड्रिवन है. द एंटायर वर्कशीट इज already written, they have to just perform. How to distinguish between them? If the plant is running well, everybody must be rated on the same parameter, but it is not like that. How you have reacted to a particular situation in a crisis, how you have maintained the complete data, how you have managed the ESG parameters, everything must be. So as we progress and as we mature in the system, a lot more activity, more dimensions must be added to our checklist areas. And the simple entry, one can say that what innovation can we bring in the simple entry and this thing, but we have to devise ways and means to even the functioning of those mundane or routine activities are having some semblance of some bars, some ratings, and some kind of targets must be achieved, must be there in the system to be achieved by them. So unless that is done, then the objective assessment is not feasible.
Yeah, overall, performance of the organization has to be seen, as So we are a little bit running out of schedule now. So anybody else with one quick last question?
Rajuji, I want to get in touch with Mr. Amar.
Yeah, sure. I will
time. Yeah, if
I will connect.
Then I would like to discuss with him more details on this one.
Sure, definitely. I'll arrange the call.
For sure.
So anybody else with anything? Any observation, any question?
Sir, I work in an IT company, so that now the situation is all hire and fire, like na? It's like that. So what are your thoughts about that?
See, the IT industry and the consulting industry has been impacted the most by the performance management system. I mean, the effect of the arbitrariness has been impacted in the IT industry the most. So let me tell you that the situation has to emerge, and situation has to mature itself in such a situation, in such a manner that the individual employees are not, even if they have required to leave, they have to leave with a lot of grace and all that. So slowly and surely, the organizations will understand the efficacy of the importance of employees. See what is happening in TCS now. A lot of people are leaving, and I was reading their balance sheet. One of the major concern was that the workforce is very new, and the job allocated to them has been have been very high order. So the how to retain them, how to make them focused, and the expertise that have left with the people who have left the organization, how to make them competent. This is the major challenge as of now. I mean, the present day challenge of TCS is that their workforce, huge workforce has now been brought in. So how to make them, expert in their areas, and how to make them work. So this is a challenge. So every organization has to continuously see hiring and firing is one thing, but if you are firing somebody, then there has to be a rational reason for it, because a human resource is a very important resource, and somebody has, the entire family is affected. So the organizations have to realize, and it will mature with time, and I'm sure that the organizations in our country will be maturing very shortly, in the sense that they will be giving a lot of importance to the resource, every resource.
Yeah.
What are your views on moonlighting in this context? Because moonlighting.
See, it has commenced only during the COVID, when people have been using the benefits of, and that's all the major companies like Infosys and TCS are insisting for people to come to the office, because working from home, we have also understood a lot of problems, but in manufacturing sector, the critical element, the critical workforce is required to work at site. Only a few people can be left to work from home, but in IT industry, the huge workforce can remain. So moonlighting has been happening only because the comforts of work from home was there, and there was no checklist. So, but in a sense, it is not. I mean, it's not ethical in the sense that the employees who are taking over to moonlighting and taking 2 or 3 jobs is not correct. In the sense, to my mind, it is not correct. Although there are contrarian views, because if it is utilizing its own resource and talent to the best advantage, what is the problem? But I mean, you cannot remain loyal to many organizations at one given point of time. So if you are working, I mean, as a consultant or as a full time, then you have to give full attention to your own organization rather than. So whatever decision these companies are taking, I think they are right, and people have to be completely loyal to their this thing.
Yeah.
We are not Western countries that we can pick up 2 or 3 organizations.
You are bound by the contract also.
Yes.
It is just like as a marriage kind of a thing. Like,
Yes. Well, you want to be honest or not? Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Verma, for a very insightful talk. And I think everybody liked it so much that we are already 15 minutes ahead of our time. So thank you so much. And anybody who wants any further discussion with Mr. Verma can get in touch with me, and I'll definitely connect you with him. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
and
you, everyone.
Best wishes to all of you for very happy Durga Puja.
Thank you. Same to you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.